friends, my name is Shayla and today I'm here to talk to you a little more about manga. So I had an experience recently while reading manga that I feel like I need to get on here and talk about. So let's chat about it. So I had been looking for some new manga to read, check out, all of that kind of stuff, and I stumbled across this little series. This is Manga Shakespeare. This is illustrated by Emma Vicelli, I want to say. And there's a couple things that stood out to me. One, I absolutely love and adore Shakespeare, and I love and adore manga. So the two things together sounded like heaven sent to me. So I went ahead and ordered this from Amazon, and a couple things threw me off when I first received it. The first thing being, this is bound like a traditional book rather than a manga. Because typically a manga, you would open this way, backwards to us here in the US, where with us, we do it this way. So for me, this ended up feeling a little more like a graphic novel. So I guess if you had been reading a lot of graphic novels and were looking at delving into manga, something like this might be a decent place to start, just due to the fact that you don't have to deal with the reading it backwards and little things like that. So for me, who reads manga on the regular, this was a little bit jarring when I first started to read this. So secondly, I'm very familiar with this play. This is one of my favorite Shakespeare plays of all time. So what it was, is it was the play, word for word, basically, in a manga format, which isn't necessarily bad. But the one thing that bothered me is, I guess, because it was manga, I was expecting it to have more of an Asian influence in its drawing and how things were depicted, where they kind of went the other way. Outside of like their faces, the costuming is very much the same as it would be for any traditional Shakespeare play. Needless to say, though this isn't bad, I would still give this like 4 stars just because I love the play so much, and I do find the medium nice. I was disappointed. I hate to admit it, but I was, because I was expecting this to have more of that Asian influence. As they were dressed up and things, I expected it to feel more Asian, I guess. I expected to see them in kimonos and more traditional garb, where instead it was almost Americanized, which bothered me. This might be a really weird video to most of you guys, but this is kind of like my weird little review about this particular manga. Generally speaking, the art style isn't bad per se. It's definitely not my favorite that I've ever read in a manga. I think there are some that are beautifully illustrated and things, but this particular one, it almost felt rushed, I think, is what I feel. It's a little too choppy, not as smooth as a lot of the mangas I typically read, and it was a little bit jarring in places. Other places it felt perfect and beautiful and just like manga because of certain expressions that were written into the panel itself, because in manga, they're very expressive with, like, hand gestures, certain little, like, asterisks as people are thinking about things. And so that did hit the mark here on that. So for that, it did feel like a manga. Generally, in their clothing choices and stuff, it felt a little too European or Americanized, however you want to look at it, as opposed to something of a more Asian culture. So I know manga isn't exclusively Asian, but it is more dominant in those cultures, so that's what I'm kind of used to reading and experiencing. I know I'm saying "and so" a lot and rambling a little bit in this review, but I needed to put this out there because this might appeal to a lot of people out there. But for me, it was a little bit jarring. I don't know that I'm going to pick up any of the other plays because they have a lot of the other Shakespeare plays. I decided to start with one of my favorites and see how I felt from there. You know, they have Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet and all these other ones. So I might take one that I'm maybe not quite as familiar with and try again. But for now, though seeing it in the medium of manga is really, really nice, this isn't one I can fully put my stamp of approval on yet. You guys wanted to hear more about manga on this channel. Here you are. This is one of my recent purchases, and I did enjoy my read of this because I love the play so much, and this stuck very strictly to the play. I mean, almost word for word. Like, I'm sure they just took the Japanese translations out and put in the words from the play. Or it was already made in an English format and then they adapted it for a Japanese audience. I'm not 100% sure how all of that went down. If I find out any more about it, I'll let you know in the description down below. But I, for sure, know that I was disappointed. Being the avid manga fan and reader that I am, I was disappointed. And I hate to admit that I was disappointed, but I'm going to be honest with you guys, because that's what I do on this channel. So yeah, I think that about wraps up my thoughts. If you enjoy Shakespeare plays at all and are looking at diving into the medium of manga, this might be a great place for you to start. But otherwise, if you're a huge manga lover, maybe put a pause on it for now. Let me do a little more research for you, and I'll let you know in the next video I talk about manga. Have a great day, guys. Bye.